Hi, and welcome to Wake Forest. We are so excited for you and your students to join the Deacon family. And thank you so much for taking the time today to learn more about how your student can get involved on campus. My name is Betsy Adams, and I am the Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life. This is my sixth year here at Wake Forest, and I'm so excited to get a chance to welcome a whole new group of students to our campus, even in such unusual times. I'm one of the members of the Office of Student Engagement, and our job is to help your students figure out what are going to be the meaningful involvements on campus that are going to help them have just an amazing four-year experience at Wake. The Office of Student Engagement was created my first year, so the 2015-2016 school year. And while I fully believe and support the mission statement that we have, I think what really captures what we do on campus is our vision statement, which is helping every deacon find their place. Our job is to help every Wake Forest student find that group of friends, student organization, initiative, whatever that might be, that really helps them feel like Wake Forest is their home away from home. So this entire presentation today is basically about how are we going to do that and why is that so important for your student. We're going to begin with the why. So often we'll hear people tell their incoming students, don't get too involved, walk before you run, make sure you know what you're doing, because they're obviously focused on making sure that students focus on just their academics. But what all of the research tells us is that students who are involved on campus are actually more likely to persist to graduation and graduate within that 4 years. And that's simply because of the connections that they create and the structure that it helps to provide. So when they have meetings they have to go to and work their homework time around that, that matters. When they have friends who they're there to study with that they met through the student organization they're involved with, that matters. So ultimately, we actually really want students to start finding things that they're excited about, passionate about, and make them love their Wake Forest experience as early as possible. So we make sure that we provide many different ways for them to do that. So we'll talk a lot about what our office specifically does on campus, and we'll also talk a lot about what some of our campus partners do and how we connect with them to make sure that our students all find the things that are most meaningful for them. So what does that mean? We're going to talk through 10 different ways today that our students are able to get involved on campus, and the tools and resources they have at their disposal to help understand what all of these different opportunities are. So that's our student organizations, fraternity and sorority life, student union, leadership initiatives, and student government, but also our engagement consultants, the link, the hub, campus traditions and events, and what our campus partners are up to in the spaces that they have on campus. So the first and easiest way for a student to figure out how they can get involved on campus is the link. This is our online engagement portal, and it is awesome. It has over 250 ways for students to get involved. It is also the easiest and most low-risk way for a student to start figuring out what they're excited about to get involved in college. It's got super easy search functions. You can update your profile and interests so that your homepage will basically pull out things that are most important to you based on what you have expressed. It'll pull events and target you toward the things that you are going to find meaningful based on what you include in that profile. All of our student organizations are required to register their events on campus. So one of the first things you see when you log into the link is actually a list of upcoming events. So they'll be able to see when groups are doing interest meetings. They'll be able to see when they're hosting events on campus. And they'll be able to also find all the contact information for those groups. So you can simply go through an organized list of everything that's on here, or you can go through and look based on categories, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. So it's a really great way to find some easy things to get involved in. Typically, I also always recommend that it's the best way to get prepared for our involvement fair. Normally, in times when we're not dealing with the pandemic, usually about the second week of school, we have a massive fair down on the Mag Quad. It's got over 200 student organizations, campus partners, community partners that have tables, they've got giveaways, they have flyers about upcoming events, and it's like overwhelming running the gauntlet, I'll be honest, because it's so fun and everybody is out there getting to advertise the ways to get involved. One of the ways in which we tell our students to navigate the gauntlet is to go to the link, start finding those organizations that they're involved in or that they're excited about, and then they're able to meet them at the involvement fair. This year, it'll be a little bit more low-key since we are going to a virtual format that we're very excited about. This will launch in late August. I believe the platform is called Flipgrid, and it will get emailed to all of our incoming students with the link for how to log in. All of those same student organizations and campus partners that typically would have a table at the fair will have an opportunity to submit a short video that your student can watch on their own time. It'll also include contact information for all of those groups and upcoming events, most likely virtual, that they'll be able to partner with or participate in so they can get to know more about those organizations and get to know some of their members. Definitely make sure you tell your students, look out for the links for the virtual involvement fair and to take advantage of that, especially because they can do that now in between classes on whatever day of the week it makes the most sense for them. Another opportunity that we have are the engagement consultants, because sometimes even between going through the link or going to the virtual involvement fair, it can still feel a little bit like where do I even begin? Who do I even talk to about this? So we realized we have got so many great students on our campus that know how to do this and they have mastered it and they have got fantastic involvement that we should really use them as some mentors. So these students will provide one-on-one consultations for any student who is just struggling to find a place to fit in and where they feel like they can really get involved and jump in and be excited about things. And these our engagement consultants also have a wide breadth of involvement. They are in student government. They're doing research with their professors. They're involved in campus rec, fraternities and sororities. They are all over the place. So they know exactly what you need to do and who you need to reach out to. And if they don't know who the right person is, they know who to ask. So they'll provide these one-on-one consultations, help your student talk through what were they involved in high school, what were they most excited about when they came to college, and help gear them toward those things that will hopefully help provide that sense of home here at Wake Forest. Your student also should have had an interest matcher that was already sent out to them as a part of their pre-orientation experience. If they complete that, an engagement consultant will reach out to them to see if they want to schedule a one-on-one consultation. And part of what they'll do is create that personalized involvement plan. So sometimes it might not necessarily be, well, I really want to be involved in student government because that's what I did in high school. Sometimes they just know, here are leadership skills that I want to gain. So they'll help them come up with the ways in which they can think about not just what are they going to do in the first couple of weeks of freshman year, what are they trying to do over the course of the next few years? What are they trying to learn? What impact do they want to have? And then help them figure out the best way to do that. So these are a great way for your students to connect with current Wake Forest students about the best ways to get involved and find those meaningful connections on campus. Another opportunity that we normally have is the Hub, which is in Benson University Center down on the second floor, kind of just off of that food court area. It's our collaborative workspace for student leaders. Typically, this is where the engagement consultants have their one-on-one consultations. Obviously, some of these operations we'll be evaluating a little bit with everything going on with COVID-19. It's also where we do event planning office hours when organizations are hosting events. And it's where our student organization finance office is located. So it's in many ways kind of literally named the hub for our student organizations and for students who are looking to get involved. So also would encourage that when we are open for full hours at that point, that if your student really just kind of wants to drop in one day and see if there's an engagement consultant around to find out more about getting involved, the Hub is a great place for them to do that. So as I talked about, one of the most easy ways to get involved are our student organizations. We have over 250 here at Wake Forest, which is absolutely phenomenal, especially when you look at the size of the student body that we have. They have all different types of memberships. Some are closed. There are tryouts, applications, recruitment, auditions, depending on what that type of organization is. But many of them are open. And as long as you're excited about whatever their mission is, they want you to come and be a part of it. So there's definitely opportunities for both sides, depending on what types of organizations you're looking at. And just in case you have a student who is really passionate about something and it's not available at Wake Forest, we also have the Student Organizations Council, and that group is charged with chartering our new student groups. So if that opportunity that they're so excited about isn't actually available right now, we will help them create it through the Student Organization Council. And last year alone, in an abbreviated school year because of everything, we had 10 new groups that we were able to charter over the course of 2019-2020. And we usually have even more than that each year that we are able to help create charters for and help get officially registered through the university. All of our student organizations are put into one of these overarching buckets. So we have academic and pre-professional groups, we have civic engagement service, club sports and recreation sports, fraternities and sororities, intercultural and culturally based, leadership and peer education, music, art, media, performance, social justice and political organizations, and spiritual, religious, and faith-based. So every group falls somewhere into one of these categories. And so especially as we talk about going back to the link and going back to the virtual involvement fair, if you have a student who knows they're interested in club sports, or if you have a student whose faith is very important to them, they can click on just that category in the virtual involvement fair or the link and see what opportunities they have available to them underneath the categories that are most important for them. Student Union is another fantastic opportunity for getting involved. This is our campus-wide programming board. So this is a group of students whose job is to literally create the fun for the rest of the students. They host over 200 programs throughout the academic year, including things like major programs such as Spring Fest, Homecoming, and Awake All Night. When we do large campus-based concerts, as you can see on my screen here, that is when we had one of DJ come into our basketball arena, which was awesome a few years ago. Large campus traditions, they host our weekly movie nights, lectures, they do short courses, Tuesday trivia. So all sorts of things about just being excited about Wake Forest and things that college students like to do. This is the group that does it. Every event that Student Union hosts is open to anyone on campus that wants to come. So they are able to participate. They don't have to help plan. They can just show up and they get to be there. But if that is the type of thing your student wants to get involved in, they also have different committees that all you have to do is show up to a campus, to one of their committee meetings, and you're on the committee and you get to be a part of that. So if they're really excited about an acoustic series and bringing in kind of some of the smaller performance-based organizations, they can join the acoustics committee. If they are a movie buff and they want to help pick out the movies that come to campus, they can join the films committee. So this is an opportunity as well, if there's a particular area that your student is involved in and really cares about, that they can actually help bring that into what they're doing and have a say in what the programming looks like for all Wake Forest students. Leadership initiatives are also a really awesome way to get involved. Our office in particular has 3 signature programs that we do that help students gain their leadership skills and competencies. So one is our Charge Emerging Leaders program. So this is focused on our first and second year students, and it is meant to help people create student leadership and campus change through a campus proposal initiative. So they actually have the opportunity to literally come up with proposals that they put in front of a committee of faculty and staff, and proposals often receive funding. So for example, if you saw the water tower on campus, you notice that there's a big Wake Forest logo on there. That was a blank water tower until probably about 8 years ago. Group of students in charge were the ones that said, wouldn't this be a really cool way to make this A, look nicer, and B, help create a sense of community at Wake Forest and help promote our campus? Can we get the Wake Forest logo put up on our water tower? People liked the proposal, they did it, and that was something that our students could say they really had a hand in helping happen. We also have our leadership workshop series. So this is focused on a lot of the skills and competencies and hard skills, especially, that students need just to help lead in an organizational setting. We talk about leadership, we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and we also talk about organizational excellence. So these are things that people can participate in if they're in a student organization and want to help with that. But if you're a general student who just wants to build more and learn more about those things and help prepare yourself for after college, it's a great way to get involved. We also have the National Society of Leadership and Success, which is a step-by-step leadership program for students to help build their leadership skills through multiple development activities. So for the National Society of Leadership and Success, there are things like GPA requirements that we have to look at. So students, if they are eligible to go through the program, will receive that after their second semester. But this is a great way to get involved with others on campus who are really excited about building their leadership skills and competencies in more of a cohort model with a group of students. Student government at Wake Forest represents the student voice, just like it does in our high schools across the country and at other colleges. It has representatives of all of our classes. So our first year students are elected through their residence halls in early September, and our upperclassmen students are elected at large. There are also various committees that you don't have to be a senator to be a part of, that they do appoint students to be a part of, that students are able to get involved in. So if your student was really involved in, or wish they had been involved in student government in high school, we've got that same opportunity at Wake Forest. And so this is a cool opportunity to get to know different administrators, to have more of an impact on some of the student experience, and to see some of the ways in which decision-making happens at the university. Fraternity and sorority life. So my area. So we do have 24 active chapters here at Wake Forest, 3 of which they fall into 3 different councils: our Interfraternity Council, Panhellenic Council, and our National Panhellenic Council, or NPHC. And we'll go into each of those in a minute. We do have one of the largest Greek communities in the country by percentage, with 46% of our students being involved in a fraternity or sorority. That places us in the top 20 of campuses in terms of percentage of students who are involved. When you break that down by gender, we have about 37% of our men are in recognized fraternities, and about 60% of women are in some of our sororities. So that 60% for women especially actually puts us in the top 10 in terms of affiliation of women within sororities on a college campus. So yes, Fraternities for Life is absolutely a thing at Wake Forest, and something that a lot of our students find a great deal of involvement and a great deal of meaning in and really enjoy. So very briefly, and this list is also on our website, these are the chapters that we have on campus. So if you or a member of your family were in a chapter and you are interested, here they are. But again, that's also on our website, so we won't dwell too long on this. So how do you join Fraternities for Life on our campus? You are required to have a 2.5 grade point average, and that is a firm 2.5. We will get their GPA from the registrar's office out to the third decimal point, so a 2.499 is not actually a 2.5. They also have to have 12 credit hours completed as a matriculated student. So I know many of our students took like 1,000 hours of AP and IB credits. That is fantastic, but it does not count for their eligibility for Fraternity and Sorority Life. So students typically are not going to be eligible to join until January, and that's why we are a deferred recruitment campus. You also have to complete our Fraternity and Sorority Life hazing prevention module through Prevent Zone. All of our first year students and all of our incoming students have to do our Prevent Zone hazing education and prevention modules, because unfortunately hazing is something that does not just happen in Fraternity and Sorority Life on a national scale. It happens all across different student involvements. So we do require all students to at least understand what hazing is and how to report it. However, we do realize that Fraternity and Sorority Life tends to be a higher risk population for that. So we also have a second module that you must complete prior to joining a chapter on our campus. And so when registration information goes out, they will have the login information for that. So when does recruitment happen? In a normal process, our interfraternity council, which these are the oldest on campus, the oldest nationally, that will usually begin in January, and we have registration, which will open in November. For our NPHC, which are the historically Black fraternities and sororities, there is no centralized process for intake. You can contact Shane Taylor, who is the Assistant Director for Fraternity and Sorority Life, and he advises our NPHC if you have questions about a specific chapter. We work with their regional team to determine when it makes the most sense for them to take on new members and what that looks like. For our Panhellenic councils, these are our 8 large Panhellenic sororities. This typically begins in January prior to classes beginning. Students come back to campus early to participate in the process, and registration opens in October. However, with everything going on in the country right now, things are going to look a little bit different. Due to public health concerns, we are evaluating our options for our in-person and virtual recruitment. We are going to make an announcement by October 1st, and it will be probably on October 1st, that about what we plan to do regarding January recruitment, and if we feel confident doing our normal in-person processes, or if we're going to have to adjust to a virtual or semi-virtual model. Again, health and safety is our biggest concern, and we want to make sure that we are able to keep that at the forefront with however we do this. Because of that, if you have a student who is interested in participating in Panhellenic recruitment, strongly advise you to wait until after October 1st to make those travel arrangements, because if we go to a virtual model, it may not make sense or be necessary to have students come back to campus early, and we would not want you to have already made travel arrangements and not have students available to move back in January when you had planned to. So we strongly advise you to wait till October 1st to make any travel arrangements until after we have already made our announcement about how we're moving forward with recruitment. If you have a student who is interested in fraternity recruitment or NPHC intake, because those happen after classes begin anyway, it would not affect your travel schedules in the first place. We are very excited because we went through an expansion selection process in the 2019-2020 school year, and so at this point we are still moving forward with bringing 2 new groups to campus. So we are bringing Pi Kappa Phi, which will be a member of our interfraternity council, and Psi Sigma Phi Multicultural Fraternity, which will be a member of NPHC, both in spring 2021. We're very excited for both, but this is also a particularly historical moment for our campus because it's the first time that we will have a multicultural fraternity on our campus. So that is a different opportunity that we have not been able to provide before that we're really excited about for our students. So for the fall, how does your student start to learn more about fraternities and sororities? Again, we're very excited for them to participate in the virtual involvement fair. We will have a video produced by our Fraternities for Life ambassadors on behalf of the entire fraternity and sorority community. Our councils will also host specific events that we will have more information and dates about advertised in that virtual involvement fair video. So definitely tell your students to turn to that video first to get more information about what events our councils have each planned, because at that point they will have made their plans already. Also, we will have another expansion information session in October. So for those students who maybe are looking around campus and feeling like, I don't know if any of the current groups are what make the most sense for me, I would like to consider being, a member of a brand new group, and they know that by October, you can be on the lookout for information about that, because we'll share more about what to expect, timeline, etc. So we do always think it's important that as we share the good work that our fraternities and sororities do, to make sure that we are being transparent about the challenges that we have. So we want to be open with our campus partners, open with our families, and open with our students about what's going on, even when our groups aren't at their best. So we do have 2 unrecognized organizations on our campus. Well, let me rephrase. We have 2 unrecognized groups that are within Winston-Salem, but they are not recognized and are not considered part of the Wake Forest community. So that is both Kappa Sigma and Delta Kappa Epsilon. Delta Kappa Epsilon was actually suspended by the university in 2018 due to a series of high-risk conduct violations, and felt that was in the best interest of the health and safety of our students. Their national organization did not come to the same conclusion. So they are recognized by the national organization, but they have been suspended by Wake Forest. So we do not encourage our students to look to that group if they are considering joining a fraternity or sorority. Kappa Sigma was suspended in the 2014 school year, also due to high-risk issues on campus. And while we were going through the expansion process, or prior to it, the national organization decided that they no longer wanted to wait to be back on campus, so they decided to reorganize their chapter outside of the university's expansion selection process and to operate without recognition or the support of the university. So that group is also considered an unrecognized fraternity that does have the support of a national organization. We do have 3 groups right now that also have a probationary status. Each had conduct issues last year or the spring the year before. Being on probation means that it's a heightened level of security if there are other issues. All of them had to do with alcohol violations. And as in the case of Sigma Alpha Epsilon, there were also some destruction of property issues in there as well. So all of them have been working through their conduct process. They have been meeting their sanctions, but should there be other issues this year, there will be additional level of scrutiny if we have to go back through a conduct process with them again. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap our presentation. Thank you again so much for participating in this today and learning about ways to get involved on campus. Normally, we have at least a half hour of our parents and family members asking questions, and we're thrilled to be able to answer those, but unfortunately, we can't do that today. So if you do have any questions, I do highly encourage you to go to our student engagement website or email us at studentengagement.wfu.edu, but that weird abbreviation. Or you can also give our office a call, and we will make sure that your questions get filtered to the appropriate staff member. And again, we also encourage you, as we have different information sessions, particularly we'll have a Fraternities for Life session over family weekend, because I do know that there are always many questions about us. Please take advantage of those as well. Again, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Wake Forest, and go Deacs.